Hi everyone, it's Becky here. So welcome to another new video on my YouTube channel, and it's my first few days back in Vancouver and I'm ready to go to town. And here I am above the Fraser River. The weather is getting a bit better after the snowstorm. Here I am on the SkyTrain entering the city of Vancouver. Here is the flea market. And I got down at Stadium Chinatown Station and I'm ready to walk around and find a new cafe to sit down and enjoy a good time. I am at the corner of Hastings and Canby Street outside a cafe. It's called Nemesis Cafe, and here I'm outside ready to go in. Ooh, they have a huge selection of pastries. Wow. And now I got my table, sitting down, waiting for my order. There are a lot of baristas here. Very cozy little space. So I got a nice cup of latte and a pear Danish. I'm ready to sketch my food and drink before consuming them, starting with the outline of the glass cup. The bottom is a little thick, using loose lines to draw the brim, and drawing this cute little heart and the leafy pattern on the surface of my latte and the little bubbles using very quick loose little circles, the liquid line and the texture of the glass. Now I'm drawing the outline of the pear Danish. It is a very short little rectangular prism shape, and drawing these pieces of pear slices and the bits of nuts, using very quick and organic shapes to get it done. Loose lines to show the crispy edges. Now drawing the round outline of the little dish and the brim. There's a little crack there on the little dish, which is very special. Now I'm ready to paint watercolors. As always, I'm using my Etchr watercolors. I have a towel ready there on the side to clean my water brushes every time that I switch color. Okay, so I'm going to begin by wetting these areas with clear water so the colors could spread out very smoothly without any dry brushing marks. Punching on a bit of cadmium yellow diluted for the first layer of the coffee. Painting loosely, leaving little gaps of white to show the shine of the glossy exterior. Mixing in a tiny bit of orange into the cadmium yellow and dilute this color a little bit for the first layer of the Danish. Okay, so first layer, pretty uniform colors for both objects. Now second layer, wet onto wet. Mix in orange with burnt sienna, so I get this orange-brown color, using choppy brush strokes to paint very loosely for the surface of the Danish, and more burnt sienna, diluted a little bit to paint the left side of the coffee. Because the window is on the right side, the left side is in shade. Also mix in a little bit of raw umber for the darker tones of coffee. And keep adding more stronger brown tones containing less water. Just like a third layer for the coffee. For watercolors, it's always important to do layers of tones so we get stronger contrast and more complicated definitions. Using a little leftover gray to paint the brim and the bottom of the glass cup. So I mix my own gray with blue, green, and royal purple, diluted. Adding a quick third layer for the Danish. The mix of burnt sienna and a little bit of raw umber around the crispy edges. And keeping these brush strokes very small for these very subtle little definitions and tones. Okay, that's it for the coffee and pastry. Just adding a quick shadows and also wetting the area of the little dish. It's a little spotty. It was like a sky blue color. So I used cerulean blue diluted and using dotty brush strokes. And a quick second layer wet into wet with a stronger cerulean blue containing less water. Trying to capture the feel of that little dish. A quick little shadow with leftover gray around the bottom of the Danish, and that's it. Here's the look of my finished sketch. It took me about 15 minutes to draw and paint. And now I'm ready to sketch the view outside the window. First of all, I'm going to finish my cup of coffee and enjoy my Danish. Here we go. Now I'm ready to challenge myself to do a double page panorama. First of all, I'm going to get some foreground elements done. I'm drawing the Christmas tree, the contour outline, and they have these cute paper cups hanging on it. And some laces, little lights wrapping around the tree. Using these squiggly lines to show the texture of the evergreen leaves. Now I'm drawing the face of the girl sitting in front of me. Her shoulders and her elbows, the collar, the back of her bench. This is the back view of her friend. And her shoulders and her sweater with red stripes. Okay, and then drawing the railing of her bench, the bars and the wooden pieces, and adding the details around and in between the bench area here, her jacket. And that's it for the foreground element. Now I'm starting to add the middle ground elements, the entrance of the cafe, the door frames, and a column here behind the Christmas tree. And the rim of the window here. Yeah, so that's it for the middle ground. Now I'm starting to draw the background details. This corner building on the other side of the street lamp right beside it, and the height of this bar with traffic lights on it in relationship to those lines according to the building on the left. And now this other corner building in the distance with the another street lamp interrupting it and more poles in the distance. The tree here, and drawing a couple people to show the proportion of everything. Adding another person walking by. These tiny people are really helping to show the grand cityscape behind them. So when doing an urban sketch, I always like to include some people in different walking gestures from different angles, front view, back view, or side view. Now I'm starting to add these patterns of windows for this building right outside on the other side of the street, adding a bit of accentuation around the window frames, coloring in some of the shapes with solid black ink, and the brick pattern. And another row of buildings, columns in between. So these shapes are pretty simple. Most of them are squares and rectangles. Just fill in the space of that large shape of the building. Now adding a car here to add more interest to this sketch, not just buildings. So here I am trying to capture multiple moments happening in this scenery over a time frame of about 1 hour. Yeah, there are a lot of repetitions here when sketching these buildings, rows of windows looking pretty much the same. So I'm actually drawing very quickly and not, giving myself very strict rules or making them look exactly the same. Yeah, drawing these arc areas and the windows inside very quickly. It's actually a little tedious to draw these repeating shapes. So it does take some patience to get these details done. These are not difficult to do. I think all we need is actually the patience to finish it, to fill in the space inside the outline of these buildings. Now adding some tree branches and twigs on the side of this corner building, more foreshortened windows and display windows. Some more little loose twigs for this tree, the curb line, adding the texture for this rocky walkway here. Now moving on to the very right side, the other corner building. Right here is the corner building, and keeping those buildings in the far distance down the street, very simple. Just keeping the outlines really loose, so they're kind of sort of fading out and not coming forward to create a sense of distance. Yeah, all of these window shapes are actually very simple. All we need is actually the patience to finish it. Every single window could look a little different from one another. So that's it for the line work. So the doodles on the window is actually making it a little hard to see the forms and colors outside. I think it's okay, you know, in some sketching situations we might encounter some challenges. The creative journey is not always smooth. Alright, so now I'm ready to add the color for the sky. I just wetted the sky with clear water and blending on a bit of lemon yellow to show the bit of sunshine breaking through the thick clouds. And then blending on a bit of leftover gray that I mixed with blue, green, and a bit of royal purple. The sky is really overcast. It's actually very hard to tell the yellow in the middle of the sky. I'm just accentuating what I see. The yellow is not that strong actually, but I just wanted to add more life to this sketch by making the yellow stronger than it seems. Okay, and the sky is done. Now moving on to wetting this corner building with a bit of clear water and adding on a big mix of orange and burnt sienna. Painting this part very loosely and leaving a very soft edge on the right side for this building. And yeah, more or less burnt sienna depending on the tone of that building. These colors are in harmony because these are warm yellows. And mixing a little bit of blue into the burnt sienna to intensify the brown tone. Yeah, for those buildings in the far distance, just a chunk of brown there without a definite outline. Punching on a bit of blue around the bottom of these buildings to accentuate dark shade that the sun is shining over the top part of the building, and the bottom of these buildings are in shade. A little shade for the side of this building so it looks more three-dimensional. More brown tones to add more definition for this building. So when painting watercolors, we don't have to get the final look of that object's color on immediately in one layer. I always like to play with layering, blending the different tones together, and keep punching on some more blue tones around the bottom of this building. Very nice contrast of the blues and the yellows and browns. Okay, now moving on to the middle part of this sketch. So just wetting this corner building with a little clear water. Grabbing a little burnt sienna, mix it with a blue, so it's a super muted brown. Yeah, and just punching this color on very loosely. Every brushstroke is a slightly different muted brown, containing more or less water. Adding some brighter brown tones for the top. And grabbing a little bit of orange to paint the lamplights behind these windows. And to make this building more lively, with these colors dancing around in the middle, at the same time adding contrast with deep blue colors. So when painting these small areas of windows, I just use tiny little brush strokes to get it done. and not just stirring that area around with the brush. This is how I paint very loosely, is to be very bold and punch on those brush strokes with a few lines of brush marks. Yeah, and some more orangey tones for the lamplight on the first floor of this building, and more blues. To show the brightness of something, it's very important to have a darker coat tone surrounding it, just like these lamplights. Yeah, and just adding some small bits of polish for this building because it's in the very middle. I just wanted to make it look a little more interesting and not too flat. Yeah, just sharpen some forms. And now moving on to the corner building on the very left side. Ooh, love these juicy, vibrant colors of yellow oranges for these columns and the shapes surrounding the windows. Yeah, some brown for these columns in between the windows. Just one little dash of brushstroke here to give that column a bit of contrast. And using the leftover gray to paint these window glassy areas. Yeah, just get it done within one brushstroke for one little shape. Slight bit of contrast with more intense gray for the second layer. Adding a bit of shade for these bars. Okay, so now I'm ready to paint the form of this corner building, continuing towards the very left of the sketch with just solid shapes of brushstrokes. When we're sketching, we don't have to ink outline every single detail. We can just leave out some areas and just paint those shapes directly with brushstrokes. And yeah, so that's the view outside this entrance door. Using leftover dark brown to paint this column inside. Leftover gray to give it a bit of 3-dimension. Okay, now I'm ready to paint the street and the walkway area. Just wet it first with clear water using the leftover yellow to show the daylight on the street. Okay, now it's time to paint these concrete colors of the walkway and the street. So again, I mix my own gray with blue, green, and royal purple. So the slightly more green that I mix into these three colors, the more greenish gray it looks. So sometimes if you look carefully, the color of the street, that gray, and the color of gray on the building could be a different kind of gray. Right, now it's time to paint the Christmas tree. I mix this green with Viridian green and a little bit of burnt sienna. Second layer, even more burnt sienna into the Viridian green and also less water. Just so to create reliefs for these foliage. Punching on a bit of red for the lights on the tree and the little cups. Yeah, so these nice vibrant red colors are so important that draws the viewer's attention. Yeah, so overall this sketch contains a nice balance of warm and cold colors. I just painted these people's hair and skin color with orange mixed with a red, diluted with a lot of water to get the skin color. And using leftover browns to paint their hair. Yeah, use the red to paint the stripes on her sweater. Yes, I really like the red on this girl's sweater. It also draws the viewer into this sketch. Final polish. So here is a look of my finished sketch. Overall, the ink drawing and watercolor painting in total, it took me 1 hour and 20 minutes to finish. Thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. If you like it, please click like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel for weekly updates. I try to update my channel 2 to 3 times a week. I will see you very soon next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.